Donald Trump just did, by accident, the most hilariously awesome thing of his young presidency, I think. I mean, what an incredible side effect of his tariffs. Now, obviously, a lot of people are, nervous about them. I am too. A lot of people, looking at their 401ks, although it's slightly better today. I suppose we'll see how the day ends. It was really pumping early, but then I think people got, took some profits, or, once they got back to their old positions, they took their money and ran. So we'll see. But one of the hilarious side effects now is it appears that Donald Trump will have destroyed Hollywood. I mean, Hollywood is cooked. We all know that Hollywood has been guzzling jars of Chinese man juice for, I don't know, the past 5 or 6 years. So much, so bad that really they don't even care about a movie being successful in America. They just want China money. And that has led to probably the longest run of garbage movies in history and Hollywood collapsing. They're used to these $250, $300 million budget movies cruising to 700 or 800 million because they go and make 400 million in China. Well, recently China has been pulling back on that, letting fewer and fewer American films through. But Donald Trump's tariffs on China just had a hilarious side effect, and it's that China is now mulling a ban on all Hollywood film releases in response to Trump's tariff. Leave a like on the video right now to shed one tear of happiness. And this issue has actually been brewing for a while, so it's not just this tariff thing. I'm going to explain later in the video just about how the relationship between Hollywood and China has gotten so incestuous because, China loves to push their society destroying ideologies in the West. They don't ever dare run this woke nonsense in China, but they're happy to degrade the West by doing so. China mulling ban on Hollywood film releases in response to Trump's tariffs. By the way, just shout out our PC sponsor, promo code TheQuartering at metapcs.com. And don't forget your Mother's Day gift box, now available on Amazon with free same-day shipping in many areas. If you already have yours, please take a picture and write a customer review. It would help immensely. Two widely followed Chinese public figures, one an editor for state media outlet, and the other the son of a former party chief, released identical outlines Tuesday of countermeasures Chinese authorities are said to be considering in response to Trump's tariffs. The U.S. film industry so far has escaped direct retaliation from countries hit by President Trump's globe-spanning tariffs, thanks to theatrical film releases and streaming platforms being categorized as a service rather than physical goods. But Hollywood's luck in China, the world's second largest film market, could soon run out, according to statements issued Tuesday by two influential public figures in the country. With trade relations between Washington and Beijing spiraling, two widely followed Chinese bloggers posted an identical set of measures that local authorities are said to be mulling in response to Trump's 54% tariffs on all Chinese goods, which the president vowed to increase to 104% if Beijing did not back down from a pledge to match the current U.S. tariff rate. The list mooted movers, including reducing or banning the import of U.S. films, as well as increasing tariffs on U.S. agricultural goods and U.S. services, among other countermeasures. The problem is the world needs the American dollar. Now, maybe Europe or Canada less so much, right? But China absolutely positively needs the U.S. manufacturing industry. That is just a fact. We've already seen with Apple, right? Apple has already said to be moving their production from China to India. What do you think is going to happen? Over the weekend, they were running all these articles. The news media was running all the articles. They're like, the cost of a new iPhone is going to be $30,000, because that's what the left is always worried about. My iPhone, I need a new iPhone every year. And to make fun of that is to say that you're a socialist or a communist. And so that's not true. Any of these big tech companies that are solely reliant on China have been diversifying for a lot of years. And we'll move production to Vietnam or Indonesia or India or Honduras or any one of these other third world countries because they don't care. These companies don't care which slaves make their iPhones or their widgets. They just care about the price at which they will make it. The Chinese supremacy in terms of cheap labor has weakened significantly over the past 10 or 15 years. And so with Apple already coming out and saying like, hey, we're good. We're just going to move to India. We'll move production there. If you look at the stock market, the Dow Jones is up 2.3% today. There's some give back. Who knows how that's going to end? The NASDAQ, again, up 2.4% with some give back and some, sell off. We'll see where they end up. But people in general are starting to feel like these tariffs are going to be fine. If the Apple stock is going up again, it means that people think Apple is going to have a solution. Either the tariffs are going to be resolved or Apple will have a solution. The potential plans were shared simultaneously over local social media by Who Cares, a senior editor at State Published Propaganda, and also another guy, Who Cares, the influential and widely followed grandson of another person I don't care about. Bloomberg News was the first Western outlet to cover their statements. The U.S. studios' earnings in China have declined drastically in recent years, as local tastes have shifted away from Hollywood franchise spectacle towards the country's homegrown Chinese language blockbusters. But losing all access to the Chinese market would still ding studios' bottom lines. Warner Brothers and Legendary's a Minecraft movie opened in China in first place over the weekend with ticket sales at 14.5 million, just over 10% of its 144 million international earnings haul. In 2024, the biggest U.S. release in the country was Warner Brothers and Legendary's Godzilla vs. Kong: A New Empire, with a hefty 132 million coming from the Chinese box office. Chinese authorities hold a firm grip over every aspect of film distribution in the country, and they have worked tirelessly over the years to boost local content at the expense of releasing 34 foreign films per year under revenue sharing terms, with overseas studios permitted just a 25% share of ticket sales. If we look at stuff, China changes to movies to push their propaganda. They remove Taiwan, the Taiwanese flag from the back of the jacket in Top Gun. They made changes to Mulan. They denied what was going on with the Uyghur Muslims. Here's just a list of 10 changes made to movies so they could be released in China. The Shape of Water, Guillermo del Toro's fantasy romance, was a surprising hit when it was released. Despite its critical success, the romantic relationship that forms between Elise and the amphibian was not successful in China. An important scene regarding their emotional connection: Eliza stands unclothed before the creature. The scene was edited in the Chinese audience, putting a dark dress over, similar how a dress was edited into Florence Pugh's body in a different intimate scene in Oppenheimer. Red Dawn. The movie had to change a piece of its premise in order to secure Chinese theatrical release. The movie follows a group of friends. The remake intended to have a foreign paratroopers be Chinese to better reflect the modern political landscape, but late in development, the studio executives thought that the Chinese film market was too important in generating revenue, so the antagonists were changed to North Korean to not offend the country. Again, we have another perfect example of another film that they just specifically changed. James Bond. Bond film had to remove scenes depicting Chinese characters. Casino Royale also did that. Transformers bent the knee. Pirates of the Caribbean bent the knee. World War Z bent the knee. These movies all willingly take anything that might offend the delicate sensibilities of China and change it. And you might think, well, does it really change the film? Changing it from Chinese to North Korean, does it really change? Probably not materially, that particular change. But when you have that on their minds the entire time that they're developing these films, what other changes are they making? They got rid of the Tibetan monk in Doctor Strange. They made changes to Titanic, for crying out loud. China has a very strict zero tolerance policy on, a lot of the stuff is, people being in various states of undress. But, look at what they do to video games. Okay, China does to video games. No blood in the video games, no vending machines in the video games, no slot machines in the video games, no bones, no skeletons in the video games. These are all changes that Blizzard has made willingly. China controls our video game market and our cinema way more than anyone really knows. And you see huge blow, films such as Jurassic World Rebirth, A New Mission, Impossible sequel, $500 million. Wait, could cost Jurassic World $500 million. I don't care. Make movies that Americans want to see. Make movies that Americans want to see, and everything will be fine. You guys didn't need the Chinese market for the last 100 years. And now you got more concerned with the Chinese market than you did the United States market. That's why. That's why I don't care. Make movies I want to pay to see, and I'll go pay to see them. A ban on American movies will cause upcoming releases Jurassic World Rebirth, The Accountant 2, Mission Impossible sequels to lose out on hundreds of millions of dollars in the Chinese market. U.S. President Trump said yesterday they will impose additional tariffs in response. U.S. threats were a mistake on top of a mistake, once again exposing the American side's blackmailing nature. A Chinese commissary minister said, "Don't care. Don't care. Absolutely don't care." I mean, this is a hilarious / amazing side effect to the Trump tariffs. China controls our AAA video game industry. China controls our film industry. China controls our TV industry. I don't care if they lose that money. You should have been, worrying about your American customers. You should have been worrying about making sure that, we're taking care of. Here's an article from the Heritage Foundation. How China is taking control of Hollywood, the intersection of the free market and Chinese censorship in Hollywood, and what it means for our culture. Newsflash, bad. China's making, the United States is making movies specifically with China in mind. That's why their movies are tanking in the U.S. market, and they're doing fine over there. But now they've doubled down, and when they lose the Chinese market, they've already lost the United States market, and this could lead to a total collapse of Hollywood. And I couldn't care less. I couldn't be happier. Make sure to leave a like on the video if you're happy too. Don't forget promo code TheQuartering over at metapcs.com and pick up your Mother's Day gift box, both linked in the description below. Once you get your Mother's Day gift box, please take a picture, come back, and leave a review. Reviews are starting to come in as they are shipping now, so I desperately need those reviews to pile up from my customers, and we'll talk to you again real soon.